Welcome to the J.Geiger Studios podcast, where we help you achieve your ideal outcome. We're here to provide value to you and your organization every step of the way. I'm your host and guide on this journey, Jeff Geiger, and I'm happy you are here with us today. Today in the studios, we have Adam Patrick, also known as Mr. P.
How do you do?
We'll provide some links to his podcast here, I hope. I think you'll find it quite entertaining. He is the founder of Deft Flux, a company that we work with quite a bit. He's a man who wears many hats. He's a tech guy with a lot of personality, too.
Some people say that.
And a great sense of humor.
Some people say that.
Yeah, thanks for joining us today, Adam. Really appreciate you coming into the studios.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, I'm really happy that you've been able to join us today. And I was thinking about, well, what are we going to talk about today? And I think there's a few things, but I want to cover how we met. It's been a long time.
I remember the day that we met.
All right, tell me about that. I want to see if it's the same day I remember.
We were at Lake Delton, or is it Lake Dalton? I can never get the two straight. In Wisconsin Dells at a resort for we were at a company party for the company that I was working for at the time, but you were not.
No, I wasn't yet. Yeah, so that was the actual
you were invited
day we
to
met.
The party.
We didn't meet at the customer because I think at the time I was contracting under my former employer, and
I don't believe I was working for that customer yet.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember a lot of people still from there. In fact, there's a lady I worked with named Ellen, who she was my first business analyst, and she's actually going to retire. She was probably like fairly early on. I mean, maybe in the middle of her career at the time, and now she's looking to retire.
Wow.
But we met. Yeah.
I think I know the Ellen you're speaking of.
Yeah. I think everybody knows that Ellen. She's very charismatic. But so we met in Wisconsin Dells. I remember that day. I remember you and Joe and a bunch of other people standing around. I'm like, wow, there's some pretty cool dudes.
Yeah. And I think that we probably talked you into coming to work with us.
I think that's pretty much what happened.
We didn't talk you into it. We just hung out you into it.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, I was a little bit on the fence at first. I was only a couple years out of college. So I graduated in 96, and I think that was 99. That was summer of 99. And I'd worked at Kimberly-Clark for a few years, 2.5 years or so, and I got recruited out. It was Y2K, all our work pretty much at Kimberly-Clark was pretty much done. We just had to go live with all the code and make sure that the world didn't go, kaboom. When went from 99 to 00.
You succeeded.
So what's your take on that? Do you think that Y2K was a thing, or did we do such a great job resolving it?
I think that whatever problems there were, we fixed. I think that there weren't all that many super huge problems.
No, I don't think so.
But there definitely were things that needed to be fixed, and that created a lot of work for us for about 3 or 4 years.
Right. Yeah, I remember with the 2-year date, with it being 99 flipping over to 00, it would have defaulted everything to 2000 in the code I was touching. So I was a developer.
A lot of that was legacy code, however.
Right, exactly. And to save space, shaving off 2 bytes on every record for each date field, that's a pretty big deal.
But by the time 1995 rolled around, it was not a big deal anymore.
Exactly. So I remember, vaguely remember, but I was maybe a little bit less confident, maybe a little more nervous at the time meeting new people. I hadn't been in the consulting game very long, where you kind of get numb to the fact of having to bounce from project to project and meet new people. And the owner of that company invited me, my family. Oh, come down to the Dells. We're having our company picnic.
It's really an unfair recruiting tactic.
It is unfair. Come meet all the people, and you'll really enjoy yourselves. So we went down. We checked in. We didn't. I'm trying to think. I think we may have been there one night, and then or at least we went around and did stuff during the day, and then that night we got together for a cookout at the resort.
Yep.
And then I walked up to everybody. I had, one set of expectations. And I walked up. I'm like, wow, these are some really great people here.
And I think you had small children at the time.
I did.
And I don't think I had any children at the time.
I don't think so. I had, let's see, Justin, he was about 13, 14 or so. Jordan was a couple years old at the time.
Yep.
Do you remember that, Jordan? Does everybody know that you're my son? They must. I mean, it's in the name.
It's a coincidence.
It is a coincidence. We seem to attract people with the last name Geiger. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that event made up my mind that I was going to do it and move to the new company, even though I had just moved from Kimberly-Clark to this other company I was at just a few months before. That was back in March of '99, and I was really gung ho, gung ho, and really motivated to improve my career. And I wasn't getting it at the former place.
Yeah. I think we all were. We were motivated to expand our careers all at the time. That's the way you are when you're in your 20s.
I would say
I'm not discounting that. That was a big deal. And you have to do those kind of things to kickstart your career, and then things shift into a different gear. Maybe 10 years later.
Yeah. At the time, I was in my late 20s, would have been probably 29, I think. Or no, I was going to be turning 29.
That sounds about right.
And you were in your early 20s, right?
Yeah, I believe we're about 5 years apart.
Okay. Yeah. Were you married at the time too?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Corey and I married while we were both still in college.
Okay. Yeah.
And I had been married 3 years at that time then.
Okay. Yeah, Lisa and I had been married 8 years at that time, or we were heading into our 8th year. Yeah, how the time flies.
Very cool.
Yeah, so that's how we met. I don't recall the first project, although I have to think it was the one customer that's down in Jefferson, Wisconsin. You had to have spent some time there.
I spent about 3 days there.
Okay. That's it? Just 3 days?
I don't even remember what I did.
I swear it felt like 2 years. I knew every inch of that place.
That's a little bit of a drive.
Standing. It is.
Especially since you were living in Appleton.
Yep. I'd drive out Monday morning, drive back Friday afternoon, and stayed there every night. It was my first Road Warrior gig that I had.
Man, we did a lot of that back then.
We did. I learned to eat.
Guess what, though? I never did.
You didn't back then?
No. I shouldn't say never, not until my last year or so at that company.
Yeah, there was a 10-year stretch where between that company and working on my own, where 7 years out of that, I was sleeping in hotels every week.
Do you have any thoughts on that you'd like to share?
I do. I have some pretty strong opinions on that. I think it's...
Let them go.
Yeah, it's...
let fly.
Well... It's difficult, and you get into a cadence, and you can find a way to make it work out. But if you've got kids, I'd say you're making a really big sacrifice. Just know what you're doing.
Right. I would also have strong feelings about it, and I would state it a little stronger. I think you're holding back a little bit, Jeff.
Yeah, probably.
I think you feel stronger about it than what you just let on.
Yeah, I really missed out on a lot being gone. You know, it was a stepping stone in the career. It got me to build strong relationships with people over the years. Got me great experiences. I could put in ridiculously crazy hours and not have to worry about. I only had a hotel room to go back to, not a family. And so, you know, it did kind of clear the way of that, but it created other hurdles as well, and got to be where when I would come off the road for stints and be at a local client, I completely threw Lisa's schedule upside down.
When you would come home on the weekends, did she say, "Hey, stop stepping on our procedures here"?
Well, we kind of got into this cadence where she would make sure that everything was done throughout the week so that we could just focus on family time on the weekend. And if you're going to have that kind of arrangement, that's almost the only way that you could do it.
Yeah, it sounds like at least you had a good teamwork going
We did. We got into that cadence pretty quickly, and it was it worked. I can't say it was great, but I missed out on the going to meet with the teachers for teacher events. I missed out on school events. I missed the day-to-day routine for the time that I wasn't on the road. I mean, when I was on the road. So it's pretty difficult, and especially when you have a family.
Right. Well, I would not at this point say categorically that one should not live that kind of life. However, even if you don't have children but you just have a spouse, I would recommend against it.
Right. You need to invest in your family.
Yeah, family is more important than work, and career is. I would say it's important, but I would also say that it's more important that you be willing to live a simple life because, as the scripture says, godliness with contentment is great gain.
I've not heard that one yet, although I'm sure I've heard it. But
yeah, the point being that there's a really easy way to become rich, and that's just to be content with what you have.
Interesting. It's a lot of wisdom,
right? And I would add to that a great relationship with your wife is more riches than you could ever earn at work.
I would have to agree with you on that as well. Yeah, so that was probably the 3 days we worked together a little bit there. That was really almost nothing, but then we became leaders together there. You led the web practice, basically.
Kind of, sort of, yeah.
Yeah, and we had leadership events that we did and managed and grew our team. So do you remember the next opportunity we had to work together?
I think I do. Well, oddly enough, what triggered me to leave that company was, is this what you're talking about after we both left?
More so early on, like what projects we got to,
early on while we were both still there.
Right.
Actually, I don't.
Yeah, I don't.
I thought you were going to say you remembered, and you were going to tell me.
My memory is terrible.
It might have been at a certain fire truck manufacturer.
May have, yeah.
I just can't remember.
Right. Yeah, and
we definitely worked together at a certain coated paper maker.
Right. That was early 2000s.
That was a good project, actually. I think we really killed that one.
Yeah. I think that was done, pretty well. That I remember that one as well. I also, at times, I was actually giving plant tours when new people are starting on the project, where there were new employees, and I like doing that kind of stuff, like the friendly side of things too, kind of like giving people a well-rounded introduction to what they're going to be doing.
Right.
I thought
I totally agree.
If you're going to be programming for something or writing reports about something, you should know the people you're doing it for, and you should know, physically what it is you're doing it for.
Absolutely.
Do you remember the crane room?
I do not.
No. So they had this huge room where you weren't allowed to go in, and they had a crane, a robot-controlled crane, and all of that inventory was all considered one location, and we had to write an interface for it. And it was a vacuum-powered crane attachment that would grab onto the giant rolls of paper and then stack them 8-10 tall. So you can imagine if they fell, how dangerous it would have been.
You would think I would remember that, but I don't.
Well, that was one where I thought it was important that we took people around and showed them the plant, especially the people who were writing the interface for it, so they understood physically this is what you're writing the interface for. It's for this system.
Right. I think that really helps, even if it's only just to give yourself as the developer a little bit better sense of satisfaction that, hey, I did this thing that integrated this thing and this other thing.
That's right. It's the physical world coming together with the conceptual code that you're writing.
Right. I recently wrote a program that tells a laser cutter what parts it needs to cut out based on what the ERP system says is required for a job. And I was able to go out and watch that laser cutting out the parts. And it was helpful to get an understanding for how quickly the thing moves, where it gets the inventory from. And then we wrote an inventory interface as well where there's actually an automated inventory stacker that comes along with this machine. And so it goes and grabs the thickness of steel that you need right off of this huge, I don't even know what you call it, but
like a rack or something,
yeah,
right?
it's a big rack with an automated thing that lifts the steel and brings it over to the laser. And that now the rack also tells the ERP how much it has of each piece. And so they just know everything that's going on. And you go out there and you watch the guys that are actually working with it. And I don't know, I guess you know that you're doing some good in the world.
So that sounds pretty high tech. How long has that technology been around?
Which technology?
The automated machine and the ability to integrate like that?
At least 10 years, probably 20. Maybe, yeah, I don't exactly know, but we put in that interface 10 years ago.
Wow. That sounds like a lot of fun and something every guy would enjoy. I mean, we like metal, we like lasers, we like noise.
Yeah, oddly enough, this is a fairly small manufacturing concern, and I'm a little bit surprised that we don't work on more things like that. I've worked on one other CNC cutting machine at a large manufacturer, but otherwise, that's the only time I've seen that is at small companies.
Well, we're actually starting to embark on some automation where we're using various technologies, using Internet of Things. So far, it's been all prototyping and not put into practice. But yeah, there's a lot of opportunity out there. And I think the smaller companies are maybe a little bit more nimble, and they need to do some of those things. But there's also, with the larger companies, I know that there's larger, more expensive machinery that, I don't know, maybe.
But also more savings.
That's right. Because they're producing way more.
Right.
Way more parts and whatnot. So, yeah, and we after we both had left, I left a bit before you from our former employer, and you had left. We started working together at various clients and whatnot. How's that been for you? Are you glad you're out on your own and you can kind of, decide what work you'll take and what work you won't take?
That was the reason why I went on my own, was so I could decide which work I would take and which work I would not take. I've never regretted it. There are times that you miss. There's times that you miss being on a team. Although I have a team of my own now, it looks different and it comes with different responsibilities.
Right.
You're leading the team instead of just being a part of one. But you have, you enjoy that part as well.
Well, we've worked together pretty closely for a long time. You have been a resource of ours for, I'm trying to think of when the first time that was, back in 2008 ballpark.
Yeah,
was
roughly.
About right.
Yep.
And almost continuous throughout that whole time, but bouncing from project to project and whatnot. And then your team as well has been a part of many of our projects as well.
That's because we have such a great team.
It's true. It's true. And I often brag about the abilities that you and your team bring to ours.
That's good. I like hearing that.
I'd put you guys up against anybody, at least in the state.
Yeah, I would too.
Maybe even further.
Yeah, I think our people are just about the best that anybody's going to be able to find.
Right. And on what technologies is that, generally speaking?
We have people that work in ERP, JD Edwards, Epicor, primarily. We have folks that are writing .NET software. That could be for the web, that could be for desktop clients, but also a lot of integrations between ERPs and other things. Some of those people are writing .NET stuff to integrate into Infor, in fact, which is another ERP. That's, I would say, the lion's share of what we do. There's some other little nickel and dime things that we pick up here and there because, frankly, we could do just about anything.
Right.
It's, learning a new thing is fairly easy because our people have such a broad experience base that a new thing isn't actually new. It's just, I got to learn one or two little things, or I got to learn, or I got to pick up how the thing integrates. That's actually a lot of times more difficult than the actual technology itself.
Right. So that would be like being a really good musician. You could pick up a new instrument a lot quicker because you've already got that whole landscape figured out.
That's right. You've learned 80% of a new instrument already.
Right. Yeah. It's been really good. And I think that part of the teamwork thing is that any of our partners that we work with, if they're not W-2 employees, like legally we can't treat independents and our partners like they're employees because it's a legal concern. But we still want them to feel part of a broader team, part of a broader community of people as well.
Right. And I would add on that as we have our own team, I can speak for them, I think, to say that they feel like they're a part of the J.Geiger team. And it's a relationship that we've really enjoyed because of that.
Right. And I think what it is we realize that people are more than just a machine and they're not a commodity, and that they need purpose and a good environment to work in. And that's what we've tried to do is clear all those hurdles and, create that environment.
Right. And at DefLux, we have very similar, if not identical, values that the people are what matters. It's not the dollars, the bottom line, right, that we're chasing. We want people to matter. We want their work to be satisfying. We want the relationships actually that you build through that are probably the most important thing.
Right.
We all have to provide for our families, but those relationships that you have through the work environment are the thing that makes it all worthwhile in the end.
Right.
Otherwise, I could go do work in my basement by myself, and I probably would hate it.
Because you're a social creature.
Right. In fact, we all are to one extent or another.
Right. Well, we strive to create that environment here, and I guess I try to attract people who have the same kind of values in that respect, and
it helps.
I wouldn't think that if you and your team had completely different values, it probably wouldn't work out
right
well.
Otherwise, you end up just butting heads, or there's just friction. But if I like the metaphor of tug of war. If we're on the same team in tug of war, using some physics equations, we can figure out that if we're pulling 90 degrees to one another, we're going to completely lose that tug of war because we're not applying any force in the right direction. But even if we're slightly off in terms of the direction that we're pulling, that really reduces the amount of force that we're pulling against the other team. But if we're both pulling in the exact same direction, we're going to win that tug of war.
Right, exactly. Well, an interesting thing, through the course of us working together, we have had some opportunities as well. And a recent opportunity that came up in the last couple of years is building out the software for GoGuide.
GoGuide.
That's right, GoGuide. And that's I was introduced to the idea, very similar to an idea I had, but what was missing from my idea was the work that goes into it to make sure that it's a good idea, and the effort and the it person. And I think we found that it person in Carter. And I recognized pretty early on that we were a bunch of, we had some good ideas. We were a bunch of really naive people, and we needed some more sage help with building the solution. And that's why I suggested that you get involved.
Yes, you did. And I was glad that you did, because we were looking for an opportunity like that to jump on board with.
Yeah, and so for those that don't know about it, you can check out their Instagram. It's goguide.io, their webpage, and then check them out on the Instagram too, on the gram. Did I say that right, Jordan? I said the Instagram. That's probably not right.
I prefer to say Instagram.
Insti? Like Insti print or Insti?
Yeah, I'm just really trying to sound like an old fogey.
Yeah. Well, I am not very active on regular social media, and I had to create an Instagram account so that I could watch some of the, like I wanted to keep tabs on the Go Guide account and see what they're putting out there. I say what we were putting out there.
Right.
That's not the part that I am involved in. So,
but it is we.
It is we. It is all we. And it's been a really fun journey so far. From the beginning, having an idea, getting some young talent together, some really brilliant people, and then building out a prototype, building out an MVP, getting it into the marketplace. It's been quite a journey.
And we've learned so many lessons along the way. We've learned about what it takes to, I mean, we knew about putting together an MVP and software, but a lot of, like, I don't know if it's 100%, but most of what we've done to date has been all driven by customers. It's all bespoke software. And so in this case, we're talking about something that, hey, we're going to create this thing because we think that the customers need it. And we think there's a demand out there for it, so we're going to build it to what we think it should be. But then it's more than just building it to what you think it should be. It's actually taking it to market. It's finding the customers. It's getting the customers convinced that they actually need it. And there was plenty of those who actually did want it and said, yes, please bring this to us.
Right, and then they gave us advice on what we needed to do, how we needed to do it. They were integral in that whole feedback loop.
Yes, and you're learning lessons along the way about how, and most of the lessons you learn, guess what? They're mistakes that you made.
That's right.
You have to, and so one of my biggest lessons along the way is, hey, don't be afraid to make some mistakes.
Right, exactly. Well, I think it's gone pretty well so far, and I'm really pretty high on where it's going to go. I think the number one thing, if I was to recommend to anybody out there building brand new software, whether it's inside four walls of a company or it's for a new product that you're going to be rolling out to the public, is develop. Well, first of all, get a designer involved who knows how to make the program look and feel. There are experts out there, and it's not. You'll save 10 times what you spend, because for a few $1,000s, you'll save at least tens of thousands of dollars. That's probably the number one thing.
Agreed.
The number two thing would be that I think I've learned along the way here is that when teams work on something over a long enough period of time, they get kind of like they can't see the forest through the trees.
Agreed.
And they're stuck in, and they think of all the code. And sometimes you need to pull back a little bit. And then the third thing would be that you can accomplish some pretty great things in surges. So rally the team, maybe throw some additional experts at it, and push through it. And we've done that a couple times with pretty great success.
Yeah.
I think it might be time for that again, because not that we just have a lot of ambition, things that we want to get done, and we've got a roadmap, and I'd like to see that roadmap be shortened. And I think you can do that by doing those three kinds of things: prototyping, getting your head out of the trees, and pulling together a team of experts to do some surging.
I concur.
So what's your favorite part of being involved in the Go Guide tool?
I think it's feeling like you're a part of something that has a great potential to go somewhere, and a long roadmap ahead of it, and that I can really impact something on the front end of that. So that, how would you say it? So that my impact is has an exponential future.
Well, Yeah, and this software has the potential to do that for the outdoor industry. For those of you that don't know, GoGuide is business software and booking software for the guided outdoor industry.
And we want to help people who want to get outdoors to have a story that they can tell, even if it's a thing that they haven't done before. So if you haven't done something before, how do you do it? You need somebody to show you the ropes. You need, whether it's professional or not, you need somebody to get you out there and say, okay, this is the equipment that you need, or I use my equipment, and here's how you get started, and let's go do it together. You need a mentor.
Right.
And so we, through GoGuide, want to help people have outdoor experiences that are the best outdoor experiences that you can find, because we think that outdoor experiences are one of the more valuable experiences that you can have in life, that really connect you and ground you in reality.
Yeah, well said. Well said. And behind the scenes, we want to help the guides and outfitters have a better company that is more efficiently run, so that they can have more time to spend in the outdoors.
Right. We want, just like this applies to almost any of the work that we do, but especially in GoGuide, we want to make people's jobs easier so that they have to spend less time on, who wants to sit and maintain technology? That's not why somebody got into the fishing industry.
Or hand write a schedule, or keep it up on a whiteboard. That's how some places it's fairly archaic like that, and we are basically providing them the ability to run their outfit.
Right, spend less time, spend less effort on maintaining all the administrative tasks that you need to do, on communicating with people or whatever, and spend more time with actual people doing the things that you love.
Wow, that's what talking about it makes me a bit humbled that we're able to do that for people.
Well, I like it.
And added to that are the intangibles. We're doing what we call the Guide Service Growth System, which is providing them with things, not only the software itself, but also access to experts and access to things like insurance and the SEO, search engine optimization.
Right.
Things like that to help them grow their business and get the visibility that they need.
Yeah, I think that some of the things, especially that Carter is doing, where he's delivering value beyond. This is all free stuff that we're trying to include along with what we're doing with GoGuide, where Carter is saying, hey, this is some things I've learned from some of our best guides. I want to share that with all of our guides so that they can follow the best practices, and they can follow proven strategies, whatever those might be. So just so that we can add value,
right,
to what we're delivering with GoGuide.
Right. Yeah, that's an interesting thing that we're doing there, and it's been a kind of refreshing to see that, because we want to then take that and apply that for our own operations as well.
I've been thinking about it for sure. I talked to Carter just last week, and we were just we actually were strategizing a little bit, like how could I apply these lessons to what we're doing with Deft Flux, and how can I share, like, there's this little tidbit that I think that would be really helpful for our customers.
And that's part of the reason why we're starting to expand and use some of the other social medias and the other mechanisms for connecting with people, and why we're doing this podcast, for instance. We want to practice and get out there. Let's say you spend 45 minutes with us and you listen to a podcast, that you get a nugget that may help you on your journey. You hear our stories, and you hear, let's say in this episode we talked early on about being a road warrior and whatnot, and what that meant. Maybe that'll help someone out to make a good decision for them and their family. Or, if you're going to be rolling out some new software, hey, you can spending thousands of dollars, you can cut tens of thousands of dollars of the cost of it by doing some prototyping and hiring the right person to help you design it properly.
I like that a lot.
Couple nuggets.
And And they might get that from listening to this show. They also might get it in some other channel that we might share it.
Right. So, yeah, it's interesting. So,
but if they listen to this show, guess what? They get to listen to Jeff Geiger.
That's right. And Mr. P.
and Mr. P today.
That's right. So, what's next for Adam?
Go Guide. I actually am going to be.
You'll be stepping
it's interesting because
you're stepping into a more active role with Go Guide.
Yes, I am, and I have. When you say what's next, the reason I hesitated is because I just have so many dreams percolating, just constantly thinking about. Oh, I would love to do this. I would love to do that. I love so many things, and you only have time for less than so many things.
Right.
But at least work-wise, the next thing for me is to be more active working with Go Guide. I'll be spending a fair number of hours every week actually working in the software and trying to add my own flair to it and make sure that it's as good as it can be and hopefully get over this next hump and get it out to a lot more customers.
Right. And right now for the market that we're servicing, we have about 90% of the functionality required to handle that part of the market. And we're looking to add some things that other outfitters would require because they also have this other stuff. Like for instance, there's a lot of outfitters that also need lodging. That's one big one.
Yep.
There's outfitters that need multi-party, meaning they want to have multiple participants be able to book separately in order to share in the same experience.
Right.
Like
if two people that don't know each other would be able to get into the same boat, go fishing.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And so I can see that as being something that really expands the ability for us to get additional companies, and it allows us to go into other markets as well, other activities.
Yes. For example, whitewater rafting.
That's a big one. Rock climbing is another one.
Yep. And there's 1,000 other ones.
Exactly. Kayak trips, you can imagine. And then gear rental. Yep. Hunting. Yep. There's all kinds of them like that.
Yeah. Well, there's one that you didn't mention, which I think might even be
bigger.
I don't know if bigger is the right. I don't know. It might, but anyway, it might be more important to a lot of people, which is we're going to try to integrate with QuickBooks. Oh, right. And that's just so that right now, with most of these systems that people are using, they have to enter all the costs into their QuickBooks system, and we're just going to do it for them.
Right. Yeah, that's a really big one.
Take the payment, put in the sale, all done.
Right. That's something that is going to take away the time required for doing administrative things so that, again, they can focus on building their business or spend more time in the outdoors.
Right.
So, yeah, I know I didn't mention that one, but that is an important one. So, I'm looking for, and maybe I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here because we haven't taken Go Guide all the way through yet to, we're in a early stage seed investment is where we are. So
right. We're live. We've made good progress. We've got a good and growing customer base.
And as of now, December 11th of 23, we are in 36 states and 3 countries. So U.S., Canada, Mexico, and 36 of the United States.
That's right.
That's pretty impressive.
Yep, and that number is growing every day.
Every day.
And so we need to expand what we can do so that we can bring more customers into that fold and ultimately to make this be profitable with the goal that by being profitable, we can make it even better for more people.
Exactly. So where I'm getting maybe a little bit ahead of myself is I'm looking for what's next for me for that. I'm actually interested in finding another Go Guide to invest in, and I'm not quite sure what that is.
Interesting.
So,
yeah.
And so I'm, using metaphors. The metaphor I have is about gardening and planting seeds. And I think I'm ready for that next seed to plant. I just don't know what it is yet. And I hope that something comes to, comes to me that allows me to do that. We've planted Go Guide. We've taken care of it. It's on its way. We still have to take care of it, and we're not going to take the eye off the ball on it, but it's already kind of up and running. J.Geiger Consulting, it's a different business model. It's service oriented, time and materials primarily.
Right.
Whether we're like a plumber or whatever, we've got people, and our people's time is what is our product. I'm looking for the next thing to start the planting of that in some garden, because each of these other things are off on their own and running. I'm looking for whatever's next.
How do you feel about the time and material, the service projects? What's your tell me a little bit about how much what do you like about that? What don't you like?
Well, what I like about it is that we get to work on a bunch of different things for our customers, and I guess looking at it, just the mechanism of time and materials, I like that a lot more than fixed bid, because we tend to attract, because of our values and stuff, really conscientious people, and really conscientious people are also, in a lot of ways, they're bad estimators. They like to.
I know about that.
They like to assume that they can do more, and they underestimate how long stuff takes. Sometimes they feel bad about things taking longer than what they should, and this shouldn't take that long. So they feel really conscientious and don't want to have too big of a number show up when you're doing a proposal for a customer. But sometimes it takes what it takes.
Right. That's why I don't estimate any of my stuff anymore. I always make Lincoln do it.
You do? Oh, man. Poor Lincoln.
He's way better at it, though.
Yeah.
I tend to underestimate stuff a lot. And then what I end up doing is because I gave the customer a number, even though it's not officially a quote, it's just an estimate, I'll say, hey, we can't bill them for over that. Or if we do bill them for over that, it's not much more.
Right. We've done a little of the same.
Yeah.
But I've had a few fixed bid or not to exceed, which fixed bids are risky. You have to build in a buffer, and you have to factor in there kind of a calculation for like you're taking on the risk versus the customer. There's also a not to exceed. Not to exceeds are actually even more risk for you.
That's the worst.
Because the customer, they have the only upside on it. You don't get the benefit of...
I think that you're just too afraid to build in enough of a buffer.
Right.
I think that's what it is. But that goes back to your first point.
Right.
Yeah.
So I do in this, I do prefer time and materials, but we will do what we have to do in order to win our customers' business and what's right given the circumstances. Because some they want to augment their staff. How do you fix bid that?
No, well, you don't.
Right.
Not that. But a lot of times we can really help out people when we're augmenting staff. Like I think we're adding a lot of value when we do that, because you're bringing in somebody who's got a lot of experience, a lot of expertise, and you're elevating the level of that whole team by sharing knowledge, information, maybe doing some mentoring.
Yep. And that I think is the key, and it requires not just really smart people. You need people who are good, have good values and are conscientious and good communicators.
This is actually this is like a win-lose actually of this service model of business, where you or your people get a chance to go work with a client's team. I've had customers where we've been on site for years with them, where normally in this business you're talking about 6 months,
right?
3 to 6 months, maybe 9 at the top end,
right?
But when you've been on site with them for years, you really get to know their team. You really get to like their people. And then there's a downside to that, which is that you've got your own team that you want to be a part of.
That's right.
Or you want your team to be a part of your team.
Right.
And they're off doing their own things with the customer's team. And so you're losing some team bonding there. And
There are ways to, counter that a bit.
Yeah, you have to work at it.
You have to work at multiple cultures. Then you have your culture, and you have to participate in the culture of your client.
Right, and that's tough. I'm sure that there's companies out there doing it well. I think J.Geiger is doing it pretty well. I know it's difficult.
It is. You have to be purposeful in it, and we've been pretty purposeful in the culture, for sure.
Right,
with the events and our weekly team meeting and the participation, and
I've started to model some of my own team building things after what J.Geiger is doing, including us in. And what's interesting about it is that now coming at it from a leader, it feels a little bit like I'm pulling teeth. And I think that the team appreciate it, but sometimes it feels like they don't.
Right. You have to forget that part of it, but it will feel like that until you get enough critical mass. When you get enough critical mass, it'll just kind of work. Because you'll need other people that can step in and fill the need. Like, for instance, Justin, he does that.
Right.
Or Joy, she'll step in. Or Jordan, he'll step in. Like when one of us can't make the team meeting, we're all kind of covering for each other on that to kind of keep the thing moving forward. We don't want to, just because you can't be there, or I can't be there, we want the team meeting to go on.
Right.
Just like it normally would.
Right.
And everything else. And that's kind of the mindset we want to get into. And I've actually been working on the concept of a book I'd like to write to help small businesses.
How much of that book have you written, Jeff?
I've got it outlined, and I've got the chapters determined so far.
The correct response is I've written all of it.
It's
in my head.
It's actually a little further than that. I've got an outline of it created, and in my mind, I know what I want it to look like. And I really want it to be a practical guide. Is it a picture of you
on the cover?
I don't know about that. Maybe.
I'm making like a...
Yeah, that's right. I'll go get a glamour shot done.
Glamour shots.
That's right. Is there such a thing as glamour shots anymore? Yeah?
There must be.
I'm going to go do it. No, I'm not going to do it. But yeah, I have it broken down into the chapters I want right now. And I've gotten the gist of each chapter written out, like as far as like what I want to cover in the chapter. And I want it to be a real practical guide for moving through what I call the 5 phases of business, going from, if you're in the service-oriented business like this, where you could be a plumbing company or legal or, consulting or accounting, it doesn't really matter. You're limited by your time and everything, and the same concepts would apply. And first phase is you're an independent contractor. Second phase is you have other independent contractors that you work with and you bring into the fold. Third is you start hiring W-2 employees. Fourth is you've got enough critical mass with the W-2 employees that they help you move the ball forward and you don't have to do everything. And then the fifth is it's its own self-running entity with you at the helm.
Would you please write this book so I can read it?
Yeah, I am working on it. And
I would like to be able to follow this formula.
Yeah, I really think that it's going to be helpful for a lot of small businesses and hopefully help avoid some of the pitfalls. For instance, things that maybe I let drag on for 5 or more years, someone else can move through those phases quicker.
Right. If you can see the pathway, it really helps. And I guess I've been able to kind of walk 2 steps behind you all along the way anyway.
Right.
But I'll read the book. You got one buyer.
All right. Well, I better get working on it. It's at least it's more than just an idea, and I really do think it would be practical advice. And I'm really looking forward to getting it rolling. So I'm thinking 2024 is the year I'm going to get that written.
All right.
So,
do you need me to bug you on it?
No, I think I got it.
You got it?
I got it.
All right.
Yeah. But I probably will have you look at some of the chapters as I get them done, because it's all about where are you now and how do you get to the next step.
It would be my pleasure.
So, yeah. Well, thanks, Adam, for joining us today. I hope people enjoy our banter and conversation.
I hope so. I really hope so.
Well,
Jordan, how's my radio voice today? Is it okay?
It's right on.
I feel like it's a little subpar, but I'm working hard.
Well, we are so glad you're able to join us today. Make sure to follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube for more exciting content. Reach out to us through our website if there's a specific IT topic you would like to hear discussed. We'll even talk about some stuff that maybe isn't even IT related. But thank you for joining us for this conversation as you chart your course to your next destination. May your journey be filled with purpose and confidence. Until then, stay true to your compass.